What's happening, Hardscapers?
Let's talk about the base layer that everyone messes up. Let's get into this. So this is the base layer that not everyone messes up, but for the most part, it gets overlooked. And in addition to that, we're going to cover every layer of the base and talk about why they get messed up. So the base layer that everyone messes up is the subsoil, and this needs to be compacted after excavation. And we have videos on getting your proper excavation depth, especially using string lines if you don't have a rotary laser level. But it's incredibly important that your subsoil matches the slope of your pavers, which means you're sloping away from foundations and you're following a 1% or 2% slope as your pavers will be laid. And that's something that does get overlooked, that your subsoil should match the surface of your pavers. But in addition to that, it also needs to be compacted properly. And this is what gets overlooked a lot, is that this subsoil has likely been slightly disrupted in your excavation. And ultimately, whether it's been disrupted or not, it does need to be compacted, especially because that subsoil has likely not reached its compaction rate just from sitting there after being backfilled when that house was built. So we want to make sure that we're building from a firm foundation from the bottom up with our base preparation, and it starts with the compaction of that subsoil. Now what we like to do, especially since we're building on a lot of clay soil and this is weaker soil to build on top of, is we throw down some 3/4 inch clear, just a layer of it, just enough to cover the area, and then sprinkle out some Type S mortar mix. And we just want to sprinkle that around. We usually use about a 50-pound bag per every 50 to 100 square feet, depending on how saturated that clay soil is. After doing that, we then take our reversible plate compactor and work our way around that. Now, a jumping jack would be very suitable for this, especially since it's a clay subsoil. That does need a heavier compaction or a ramming motion of a compactor to be able to compact that thoroughly. And if it is oversaturated, you'll feel it when you're walking on it. And if this compaction of this 3/4 inch clear in Type S mortar mix doesn't take care of that oversaturation, you might even have to dig a little bit deeper to get to a solid subsoil. We've experienced that in the past where there's just too much water in that subsoil to start to build on top of. Another thing that you need to note with the subsoil is you want to get down to the subsoil in the first place with your excavation. So that means getting rid of all topsoil, organics, materials like that. Typically with our 12-inch excavation for patios, which includes an 8-inch base, 1-inch bedding layer, and our 2 3/8 inch pavers, we don't have a problem getting down away from all of our topsoil. But that's not to say that every project is going to be the same, and you might run into an area that was just filled in with topsoil, those 12 inches plus, and you'll have to keep on digging out. But especially with a synthetic base where you're only excavating about 4 inches, in that case, you might run into that issue. And ultimately, skipping this step really can set up your patio for failure in the future as that subsoil starts to settle over time. We want to build our patios for the long term, and this is why this step is crucial to getting this correct. But from our subsoil up, let's work our way through each layer and describe different aspects that others mess up in their installation. So from the subsoil, we then move on to our geotextile. And what some people mess up on this is just not even including it. And for an open graded base, you definitely want to have a geotextile fabric to separate your subsoil from your open graded base, so there's no contamination between the two. But even for a dense graded base, we're using 3/4 inch down to fines, it's still helpful to separate those two layers. I've done plenty of lift and relays where we've dug down and we found that they have contaminated one another. So that geotextile does really help with the separation from your subsoil to your base material, but it also can provide reinforcement, especially if you're using a woven geotextile. In addition to that, we'll use a biaxial geogrid to further stabilize our base, especially if we're using a non-woven geotextile that just doesn't have the reinforcement capabilities that a woven geotextile would. The next layer is the base layer, and the thing that people mess up with this is just improper compaction. Just make sure that you're using an appropriately rated compactor to compact your base. The rule of thumb is for every 1,000 pounds of compaction force that compactor is rated for is good for 1 inch of compaction. So those tiny little compactors that you find, those are only good for about 1 inch of lift or 1,000 pounds of compaction force. So they're really not that great for anything. So you really do want to get a heavier compactor to be able to get to about that 3 to 4 inch range, or even higher if you can get a large reversible plate compactor. The larger plate compactor is going to be great for doing one full install of your base. I do 2 lifts with my compactor, which is rated for 4 inches of compaction. So I'll install 4 inches, we'll compact that, we'll roll out our biaxial geogrid, and then we'll install another 4 inches and compact that. And that's how we get our compaction rating for our base materials. Especially when you're using an open graded base, it is much easier to compact than when you're using a dense graded base. And then the final layer of your base that people can get wrong is in the bedding layer, and that's when they use an improper material. Now, I could have used this also for the base material because I've seen this used as base, but this is using stone dust. I've seen people use it, and it's just not a great material to use anywhere in your base, whether it's the base material or the bedding material. This is a 1/4 inch chip down to dust, and people like it because it's cheap and it does compact really, really well, to the point of which it does not let a lot of water through it. It's very slow draining, so water is going to sit on top of it for a long period of time, and that brings a lot of problems with it. First and foremost is problems with your jointing compound. So whatever jointing compound that you use, it does need to be dry to be able to be installed correctly over time. So it does need to dry out. But when there's water sitting on top of your stone dust that you've used, either for your bedding material or base material, it's just not going to have the chance to be able to dry out appropriately. And that will lead to the failure of that jointing compound. The next problem that it has is that with that moisture underneath your pavers, it only has one place to be able to dry up, and that's through your pavers if it's just sitting there for a long time. And when water wicks its way through the pavers, it's going to dissolve minerals in the concrete and bring them to the surface, and it's going to look like white powdery substance on the surface of your pavers called efflorescence. This doesn't harm your pavers at all, but it is incredibly unsightly, and to have it show up every single time is just going to be an issue. And finally, if you live in a climate with freeze-thaw cycles, water in your base is going to just freeze up, heave a lot, and settle in the spring, which is not going to be good for your system. So instead, opt for a proper bedding material, and that's either concrete sand if you're using a dense graded base, or HPB, which is a 1/4 inch clean chip to 3/8 inch clean chip, angular crushed. Clean just means that there's no dust or fines in it, sand or anything like that. And this should be used for an open graded base on top of 3/4 clear, or you can even use it on top of a dense graded base. That's totally fine. But especially in an open graded base application, that water is going to just work its way through down to your subsoil, and once again follow the slope of your subsoil out of that system, which means you're not going to have those moisture problems. And in addition to that, if that doesn't deter you away from using stone dust, manufacturers do not stand behind using stone dust. So if the pavers fail for any reason, if the jointing compound fails for any reason, you're likely going to have an issue getting a warranty claim for those problems if you use this material. And that is the base material layer that everyone messes up. Well, not everyone, but that is the subsoil and compaction of that, but we worked our way from the bottom up, discussing different problems that you can experience in your installation of pavers and where people can mess up. If you have a question about any term that I used throughout this video, in the description below is going to be links to everything that we talked about here, from open graded base, dense graded base, stone dust, HPB or high performance bedding, and so much more. We've got lots of resources on this channel to help you with your paver installation.